Paramount Pictures is currently filming a major motion picture in North Georgia called
Very interesting things which you'll see once you check out that movie.
We generally work on a few different types of projects. Obviously, we do a lot of short films.
Michael, how did you get started in filmmaking?
A very large part of the success of any project.
I started my filmmaking career actually on a cruise ship making short films.
Wow. I'm the executive producer to our new feature film, The Common Denominator.
Tell us a little bit about your character in the film.
She's really upset from the beginning, from the get-go.
Tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Well, basically, I somehow started acting in 1992.
Hi everyone, I'm Priyanka Karan and we're here at the Hammond House in Atlanta, Georgia for another awesome episode of Rural Hollywood. For our episode today, we have Van Gibbs, who is the writer and director of the movie Complexions. So enjoy. Hi everyone, I'm really excited because I'm here with Van Gibbs, who is the director and writer of the movie Complexion. How are you doing today?
I'm fine, how are you?
Great, great. Let's start off from the very beginning and start off a little bit about your background and kind of how you got started in acting or in film and kind of how you got interested.
You know, my background is actually in art. So I've always drawn and painted, and the other half of it is I've always been an admirer of films and movies. So as a kid, I grew up in the 80s, so movies like RoboCop, Terminator, Die Hard, Top Gun, those are things that I've studied ad nauseum. So I've always had a love for film, and then I've always had the artistic background, so it was only a natural conclusion to merge them and become a filmmaker.
Great, great. So you want to maybe start off with kind of what inspired you to write Complexion?
I thought it was a neat story that really hadn't been told before, and so I wanted to do something that was kind of fresh and also something that could kind of spark a little bit of controversy and, kind of stay with the audience for more than just the 90 minutes it takes to watch the film. I mean, I've seen so many movies where, it's not on your mind anymore once you leave the theater. Yeah, so I wanted something that, could linger and people could talk about and kind of have a little bit of debate as well, too. So.
And how long did it take you to write the film? Because it's a 90-minute feature, right?
It's a 90-minute feature. The way I write is kind of funny. I did a lot of prep on I actually prep. It takes me longer to prep than it does to write. So with something like Complexion, I can, write a first draft of the screenplay, maybe, let's say, 29 days or something like that. But I may spend 6 weeks prepping the whole thing. With Complexion, I did like different focus groups with a group of guys and a group of girls, and then we do like a Q&A and questionnaires and say, hey, have you ever dated someone because they were too short, or would you not date somebody because you met a nice guy and he made less money than you? So I went down this big laundry list of things and to find out who was more superficial, men or women, and coming into it, I would have bet any amount of money I had it was men. It turned out to be 50-50.
Really? That's interesting. That's actually quite interesting that we have that.
You guys are just as bad as us.
I guess, but I find that a little hard to believe.
I did too. I'm shocked. Totally shocked.
Great, great. So you want to maybe tell us a little bit about the movie without kind of, giving away too much of it, but kind of just to pique our interest?
The movie's about a guy who actually meets this girl that he really clicks with, and they really have a good relationship. But the one thing that's keeping him from giving his heart completely over to this girl is that she's darker skinned, and he traditionally likes lighter skinned women with longer hair, and that's not the main girl. So he kind of struggles with this inner, turmoil or conflict. Says, I really like you, but. And then he kind of goes to his friends to try to get advice, and she kind of goes to her friends to get advice, and then we kind of have these two groups that kind of, interactively spar against each other that kind of make sense of the whole thing.
Wow. Wow. So it's definitely a topic that, people don't want to talk about, but it's on people's minds, because when people are dating, they subconsciously have those thoughts in the back of their head. And so when they're looking for, a partner or mate or whatever you have they kind of do think about it. But it's interesting that you actually decided to bring it out in the open.
Pound elephant in the room that's there, but no one wants to talk about. And whether people want to admit it or not, I think everyone has a preference. And that may not be in skin complexion. It could be height, it could be weight, it could be hair, teeth. It can be anything. But you know, we all have preferences as far as what you like and what you don't like, and a lot of times that may supersede how nice somebody is to you.
And it's interesting that people sometimes don't necessarily even, they don't acknowledge it. They think that, oh, we look at everybody equally, or, you know, people actually, very few of them actually will sit there and be like, you know what, I can admit, you know, that I actually like this type and I don't like this. But not too many people are going to, you know, talk about that and say that they enjoy, you know, that this is the certain type of people that they enjoy their company and things like that. So.
And one of the hooks in the movie is, you know, what we deem as superficial, because somebody could say to, okay, I only like girls that look a certain way, and then somebody could say, well, you're being superficial, but I only like guys of this way, but mine, but I'm not superficial. Of course not, right? I'm superficial, but I'm not superficial.
So, I mean, and that's almost like a double standard, right? So, you said you did focus groups and things like that. So how long was that within the 6 weeks that you did before writing, or?
Yeah, that's in the 6 weeks. I did a couple of groups with people that were married, people that were single. You know, I tried to keep everyone in the same age demographic that I was going to use as my actors for the film. So we did maybe 4 or 5 focus groups. I had a big list of maybe 10 questions that I would email to all my friends, male and female, just to say, hey, have you ever not dated someone because of this or because of that? And you know, so I kind of took all the information and compiled it and made a bunch of, you know, gave me a really good, you know, starting point for my notes. And then I kind of based a lot of the characters off of, you know, some of the focus groups, some of my friends, personal people that I knew, and then, you know, there's probably a little bit of me in all the characters.
Okay. So you just had a little spice of it, a little taste of you? Just a little sprinkle. So how did you find the actors for this?
The actors were actually all local. I had a casting process of, I think we started off with about 100 actors that emailed me, that responded to one audition. So out of 100, I probably auditioned maybe 80. And then out of 80, I took it down to the top 20 for callbacks. Then out of the top 20, I got it narrowed down to about...
Pretty extensive casting process.
Yeah, about a month and a half, about 6 weeks, and for me to go from 100 down to about 10.
So how long did the whole production take? I mean, after writing, how long was that whole process for you?
You say actual shooting?
Like, you know, from, let's say, you know, you've done the writing, and so you go through, you know, casting, and you go through, you know, doing the direction, doing the shooting, doing post-production work. So how long was that whole process for you?
We started the casting process in the beginning of January, had our final cast by the end of February, started production in April. It was a 21-day shoot, so that was...
Pretty short, huh?
Yeah, well, 21 days of actually shooting, which kind of scattered from, I think, April to the end of maybe July-ish, and then, you know, I was in post-production editing. I edited actually as I shot, and then we did a final mix, color correction, scoring, all that stuff up until maybe December.
So it's about a year, give or take, a little bit, kind of?
Give or take, there was a little spot that we had about a month where we didn't shoot anything because I had one more scene to shoot, and we had to wait for somebody to get back in town. So, I mean, so, you know, shooting-wise, I'd say, if you count up the actual shooting days, 21. Post-production, maybe 4 or 5 months. So.
Okay, so that's not too bad. But that's actually pretty impressive, though, that you've been... So has there been some people that you think have been, like, kind of critical to your success for making this movie? Both either in front of this camera or, you know, behind the scenes?
Starting with Anthony K. Hyatt. He's actually co-starring in the BET first scripted series, Somebody's. Larry Jr., who's a really funny guy who steals a lot of scenes in the movies. Women will probably hate him in the movie. Dupree Lewis Jr., he's a local guy here in Atlanta, does a lot of projects. John Artis, this is actually his first movie. And then Ricky Hall kind of makes a little cameo. And then for my girls, I got Tanya Fraser, who's in another movie, Motorhome Massacre. Toya Thimby Tillman, who actually helped me produce the movie. Autumn Shelton, LaToya Lino, they're one of their first projects. And Monique Thompson-Scott and Ty Randolph also. So those are my guys and my girls who are really good. And then behind the camera, my 2 aces were Heather Griffin and John Parker.
Great. So you had a pretty awesome group of people and quite a number of people that were kind of helping you make this project a success.
Oh, yeah. No project is good or bad at the fault of one person. So, you know, so even though you're the director, you know, if it's good and everybody does their job, you get all the praise. If it sucks, you get the blame. So, even though it wasn't your fault. But yeah, we had a nice group of behind the camera, in front of the camera, and all of it comes together very well for hopefully a thrilling 90-minute ride.
So was this your first movie that you directed?
It's my first feature. I've done maybe 6 or 7 shorts in kind of like preparation up to get to the part to where I can make a feature. So this is actually my very first feature.
So what has been probably one of the biggest lessons you've learned while making this movie?
The biggest lesson.
Tough one, huh?
Yes, so many. I don't know. As a director, you kind of have a vision in your head how you want it to be. You have it when you write the movie. You have it when you shoot it. And then you have it again when you edit, and then you have it again, which is the last. So you go through 4 different movies, and pretty soon you realize this is, it's not to the T that what I wanted. But, I guess a big lesson is, number one, pace yourself. A film is, it could really, it's alive, and it can eat you up if you let it. So it's really good not to let. If you got 21 shoot days, it's really good not to, on day 2, say this is not working. You just kind of got to be patient and go with it. So pace yourself. Take good ideas wherever they come from, which is, being open-minded. And I think another thing, and being a good director is kind of like being a good actor. You have to listen. So, as a good director, the better directors, they listen to their support instead of saying, I know what the heck I'm doing, I know everything. And I make it pretty clear that I don't know everything. And if you got a good idea, I listen to it. And if it works, let's use it. I don't care who gets the credit for it. My only focus as a director is to make the best movie and tell the best story possible. Don't worry about where the ideas come from, who wrote it, who directed it, I don't care. I want to make a good movie, and that's my ultimate goal.
So let's maybe talk about now, the movie's obviously, it's been produced, it's already been, it's finished. How has it been received by the public so far?
So far, so good. We actually had a screening that was sold out of over 300 people
wow.
last year. It actually premiered, the world premiere was in Los Angeles in August of 2008, so a few months ago.
That's exciting. How was that experience?
It was really good. We got to meet a lot of celebrities. A lot of people came out. We got a lot of love. Everyone liked the movie at the American Black Film Festival. And then it went so well there that when I got back home from LA, I got a phone call from a woman that heads another film festival in New York. Wow. And said, hey, send it to me. We want you to screen here as well, just based off of what she heard out of LA. So we're slowly kind of plodding along here, and
you're definitely kind of expanding the distribution.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So we're hoping to get a distribution deal sometime soon, so that way I can get as many people as I can to watch the movie, so I can debate, so I can spark conversation and debate all over the country.
Oh, if not all over the world, huh?
The world, yeah.
The world.
Let's think big.
No, we should definitely think big. I think the world is the place that, because this topic, because you know what, no, because the topic is so relevant to so many people. It doesn't matter, nationality doesn't matter, race doesn't matter, sex, everybody in the whole world has got their biases and they have their prejudices, and it's phenomenal that you're being able to talk about a subject like this, that it's in the back of everybody's mind, but nobody really talks about it. So great. So the other thing I wanted to kind of ask you was that, what are your future projects? What do you have going on for you now?
I have another project that I'm working on now. Hopefully I'll be able to start pre-production, I guess, as soon as I get my funding. But it's a really, it's a grimy little character study about a woman involved in a love triangle between her old boyfriend and her new boyfriend. And then it's just, dire, and then through these series of events, they all 3 wind up trying to rob a bank. And it just goes, yeah, terribly bad. And you're laughing, but it's like a serious So
that's great. That's great.
One way, and then it goes a whole different direction with them trying to rob this bank, and it goes terribly wrong, and a lot of bad things happen. So that's my next project. Then I have another screenplay that I'm working on now. It's a dark satire, kind of like maybe like an American Beauty kind of deal, and it's about this suburban family, this upper class family in suburbia, and they look fine on the outside, but then behind closed doors, everyone's dysfunctional. And, it's like the husband and the wife and the son, and, it's just like some dark stuff, but funny, just like the son's dating like a sex addict, so, yeah, so it's just like some dark, funny twist.
So you're playing around with a couple of different genres, aren't you?
Oh, yeah. I'm a guy, I don't want to tell the same story twice, so, not to say I wouldn't do a sequel, but it'd have to be like a different story.
Never say never.
Never say never, but I'm all about challenging myself and not doing the same thing twice. And once I've done it and conquered it, it's time for me to move on and do something different. And then that way you always kind of, I don't know. I think a project is best when if you know everything's going to work out. I think you get lazy when you don't know how things are going to turn out. It really focuses you to be up at 3 o'clock in the morning, saying, okay, how am I going to shoot this scene, or is this going to work? And it really causes you to focus. And so, and I like to test myself and really challenge myself. That's, as an artist, everyone should want to do that. I don't want to do the same movie 2 and 3 times in a row just to get a paycheck, but I take a paycheck.
Do some sequels of the same stories. storyline. Again.
I don't want to do like Saw 27.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Saw 5 is definitely. I know. But so before we get going, is there any advice that you could give to other aspiring, directors and writers that you think that you've learned that you'd like to kind of pass on?
I don't know. Copying is just such a good form of flattery as well. So I mean, have the people that you really like. I know, me as a filmmaker, I had my guys that I really, I love the way Woody Allen and Steven Soderbergh and Paul Thomas Anderson, the way they set up their shots, and I would just really study that stuff and really. So I mean, pick a person who you really like and emulate them, and also too, don't give up. It's very tough, but the thing I'd say is have your mind made up. Don't say I want to make a movie. Say I'm going to make a movie. Don't say I think I'm going to make it next year. You say, hey, we're July 5th. We're shooting. Whether you got $20 or $2 million, and just work it from there. So no matter what you have, and then also too, you want to surround yourself around people who share your vision, because success. I mean, it's a fickle thing, and you have to very early on define what your success is going to be. Mine is making movies and telling stories, and it don't have to be $100 million movies. Right. I want to get to that point, but I still consider myself, it's tough to make any movie. So never give up, work hard, set your goals, and know what you want to do.
Great. And before we go, you want to kind of tell our audience kind of how we can get a hold of you and how they can kind of take a look at the trailer and get some information about the screenings and things like that?
Yeah, you can actually go to the website, which is www.myspace.com/complexion_movie. So that's myspace.com/complexion_movie, and you can watch the trailer or send me a message or anything, and kind of keep a update on what's going on with the movie.
Great. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show, and I wish you all the best. Great, and thank you. Take care.